Hi, everyone. My name is Jeanette Tartabini. I am a physiotherapist that works with EksoBionics. And I am on here today to discuss with you the research behind using EksoNR with your patients that suffer from multiple sclerosis. Before we get into the research, I want to give you a little background about myself. I am a physiotherapist that was actually introduced to EksoNR in the United States, as we had purchased a device to do research with our patients that have multiple sclerosis. So I have pretty extensive history of usage of the device with patients, both clinically and in the research world with this specific patient population. It's how I fell in love with the device. I saw differences with my patients that I had not seen with just traditional therapy. So today I want to share with you the research that backs up what I personally saw in our own research, what the rest of the world has found with the research, and what you can expect to find clinically with your patients using this device. Unfortunately, this patient population, it can be very challenging to see gains, right? When we add in together the issues they suffer from, typically of weakness, spasticity, fatigue, and oftentimes cognitive deficits, it makes making functional gains pretty difficult. And so oftentimes we're more satisfied when our patients simply don't decline. But really, we need to push forward. We need to move forward and find a way to make actual improvements in their function, their quality of life, and their safety. What you can expect to find with EksoNR is that you're going to be able to make improvements in each of these areas. Actually, in the United States, EksoNR just recently gained FDA approval for this device, making it the only exoskeleton in the entire world that is FDA approved for using with patients with multiple sclerosis. And our research was really the driver in getting that FDA approval. So what you can expect to find is, as far as improvements in functional gains, is you can expect to see improvements in their endurance, in their gait speed, their gait kinematics, and their overall functional mobility. So looking through our research, pretty consistently, we found improvements in a patient's 10-meter walk test, 25-foot walk test, and tug scores. We also were able to improve endurance by improving 6-minute walk tests with our patient population. As far as gait kinematics, one of our studies specifically looks at what portions of gait kinematics would have led to improvements in these functional outcome measures. And what they were able to prove is that over traditional therapy alone, they were able to improve a patient's step length, stride length, and improve their stride width. So this was a direct measure of how much improvement they were to see in their functional outcome measures, such as a 10-meter walk test. It's great that we can improve functional outcome measures, but this patient population typically suffers pretty severely from issues with fatigue. The really exciting part of what they were able to find within our research is that patients were able to significantly and drastically improve how many steps they were able to take in a single session compared to traditional physiotherapy methods, but also without increasing their fatigue levels. So patients were able to go from a handful of steps to thousands of steps, and over time, their fatigue level did not increase. So they were getting in really good quality repetitions that we need to see in order to make neuroplastic changes without suffering from the severe fatigue and exhaustion that you typically would. If you look at a study that was done that looked at metabolic expenditure, right? What they found is that during training, patients were consistently able to take more and more steps with each session of EksoNR, but also their metabolic expenditure continued to decline. So this did not lead to exhaustion. This did not lead to their fatigue levels. And it was hypothesized that the way that EksoNR provided this was it improved the patient's neuromuscular efficiency, which is huge for this patient population. So imagine being able to give them back the ability to get back to their ADLs, back to their hobbies, by improving this neuromuscular efficiency and giving them more energy to be able to perform all of their daily tasks throughout the day. Also, our research has looked pretty extensively into our patients' cognition. So for those of you that aren't familiar with EksoNR, it is a pretty large cognitive task for the patient because they have to be actively engaged with Ekso. It's not a free ride in an exoskeleton, and it is highly, highly encouraged that they are really engaged learning this gait pattern so that they can take over the device and start to replicate that all on their own. So when our studies looked specifically at cognitive scores, what they found is with traditional therapy, these patients actually continued to decline with their cognitive function over the course of the studies, whereas the patients that used EksoNR actually showed significant improvements in their cognitive function. So not only are they seeing functional improvements in their endurance and gait speed and functional mobility, but their cognition is also improving alongside of that. Lastly, our research does show us the improvements on MRIs over traditional therapy. So when they looked at the resting state of functional connectivity, they showed continued declines in the group that received traditional therapy, where they saw significant improvements in the patients that used EksoNR. To me, when I was using the device, clinically with my own patients, this is exactly what I saw on a day-to-day basis. It provided hope to a patient population that has tried everything and has yet to see results with traditional physiotherapy. But finally, you are able to give them a device that can give them high repetitions, high quality repetitions without inducing fatigue, being able to improve the strength of their lower extremities. And it's lasting changes because we can see on an MRI that it's actually improving the connectivity of their brain. If you guys have any other further questions or you want to connect directly with me about more research or my own personal experience with using EksoNR with your patients, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to discuss further.